The massive crystal chamber floated in space above Kepler Prime, its walls glowing with soft blue light. Inside, representatives from 47 different alien species sat in a perfect circle. Each delegate looked different from the others. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few seemed to be made of pure energy. But today, they all shared the same expression of worry and anger. Ambassador Veltar stood up slowly. His 8 legs clicked on the crystal floor as he moved to the center of the chamber. The tall, spider-like creature had been alive for over 300 years and had seen many problems in the galaxy. But nothing like this. Fellow members of the Galactic Coordination Council, Veltar began, his voice echoing through translation devices. We are here to decide what to do about the humans of Earth. A wave of angry sounds filled the chamber. Some delegates hissed. Others made clicking noises. And a few just glowed brighter with frustration. The facts are clear, Veltar continued. 50 years ago, we welcomed humanity into our galactic community. We shared our knowledge, our trade routes, our technology. We thought they would learn to follow our rules, like all civilized species do. He paused and looked around the room. We were wrong. The hegemony delegate, a creature that looked like a floating jellyfish made of silver, spoke next. In 50 years, humans have caused more problems than most species cause in 500 years. They started a trade war with the Zephyrians over mining rights. They insulted the Cathari religious leaders during a diplomatic dinner. And now this. This was what everyone called the Terra incident. 3 months ago, human scientists had tested a new type of faster-than-light travel. They wanted to make ships go faster than anyone had ever gone before. The test had gone horribly wrong. Instead of just moving through space, their experiment had torn holes in reality itself. Strange energy storms now raged across 3 entire star sectors. Ships that flew through those areas came out changed in terrible ways. Ambassador Chen sat quietly in her chair, listening to the accusations. She was a small human woman with gray hair and tired eyes. For 5 years, she had tried to help her people fit in with galactic society. Now she could see it was hopeless. The humans are too dangerous, said another delegate. This one looking like a walking tree with golden leaves. They experiment with forces they don't understand. They take risks that put everyone in danger. They refuse to follow the safety rules that have kept the galaxy peaceful for thousands of years. More voices joined in. They're too aggressive, too unpredictable. They think they know better than species who have traveled the stars since before their planet even had life. Unquote. Veltar raised one of his front legs for silence. The Galactic Coordination Council has made its decision. We vote on the punishment for Earth and all human colonies. One by one, each species cast their vote. The hegemony voted for exile. The Cathari voted for exile. The Zephyrians voted for exile. Every single species voted the same way. The verdict is unanimous, Veltar announced. Earth and all human colonies are hereby placed under permanent quarantine. No trade ships will visit human worlds. No communication will be allowed. No human ship may leave their territory. This isolation will continue until humanity proves it has grown mature enough to join civilized society. He looked directly at Ambassador Chen. Our scientists estimate this maturation process will take between 500 and 1,000 years. The chamber fell silent. Everyone expected Chen to argue, to beg, to demand another chance. Humans were known for being stubborn and never giving up. Instead, Chen stood up calmly. She smoothed down her blue diplomatic robe and cleared her throat. We understand the Council's decision, she said simply. Humanity accepts the verdict. End. Surprised murmurs filled the chamber. This was not how humans usually acted. Chen continued. We will comply with the quarantine order. All human activity will be withdrawn from Council space within 6 months. Veltar's 8 eyes blinked in confusion. You accept? Just like that? Yes, Chen said. We understand that our presence makes other species uncomfortable. Rather than cause more problems, we will remove ourselves completely. Good, said the hegemony delegate, though it sounded unsure. That is very mature of your species. Chen nodded politely. We've learned a lot from our time in the galactic community. We're grateful for the lessons. She gathered her things and walked toward the exit. At the chamber door, she paused and turned back. I do want to say one thing, Chen said. Humanity has always believed that the universe is vast and full of possibilities. We've learned that some people prefer to stay in safe, comfortable places. Others prefer to explore the unknown. Both choices are valid. Veltar tilted his head. What do you mean by that? Chen smiled for the first time during the meeting. I mean that humanity will be fine. We always find a way to adapt. After she left, the council delegates sat in confused silence. They had expected anger, threats, or desperate bargaining. Instead, they got polite acceptance and a strange smile. That was easier than expected, the tree-like delegate said. Too easy, Veltar muttered. Humans are never that cooperative. But the decision was made. The council began making plans to enforce the quarantine. They would send ships to watch human space and make sure no one tried to leave or enter. It was a big job, but they had plenty of time. After all, where could humanity go? They only controlled a small area of space near their home world. The council members went back to their home worlds, satisfied that they had solved the human problem. They would check on Earth in a few decades to see how the isolation was working. None of them thought to ask what Chen meant by adapt. Humans had been adapting to impossible situations for their entire history. It was what they did best. The Council had given humanity exactly what they needed. Freedom from alien rules and expectations. Now, they could do what humans had always done when faced with a challenge. They could find their own way. Dr. Sarah Kim stood in the command center deep beneath New Geneva, Earth's capital city. Around her, hundreds of technicians worked at glowing screens, their fingers flying over control panels. The room buzzed with quiet urgency. Status report, Sarah called out. Colony ship Alpha 7 just finished loading, came a voice from across the room. Beta Squadron is ready to open the gateway. Sarah nodded and checked her tablet. 237 human colonies scattered across 50 star systems. 17 billion people. Thousands of ships, all of them preparing to leave everything they had ever known. The Council thought they were punishing humanity with exile. They had no idea that humans had been planning for this day since first contact with alien species. Dr. Kim, said Colonel Morrison, walking up to her station. The last civilian transports are boarding now. We'll be ready to activate Project Dandelion in 6 hours. Sarah looked up at the main screen, showing Earth from orbit. Ships of every size surrounded the planet like a metal cloud. Cargo vessels, passenger liners, military cruisers, research ships, even old mining barges that had been quickly converted to carry people. Everything that could fly and hold air was being used. Any word from the Council fleets? She asked. Morrison shook his head. They're staying back, just watching. I think they're confused about why we're moving so fast. They probably expected us to spend months arguing and begging for another chance. Sarah smiled grimly. They still don't understand humans very well. Project Dandelion had begun 5 years after first contact with the galactic community. Some humans had been excited to meet aliens and join their civilized society, but others, like Sarah, had worried about what would happen if the aliens decided humanity didn't belong. The project started small. A few scientists working in secret, developing new technologies based on the reality-warping experiments that had caused the Terra incident. While the Council saw those experiments as dangerous failures, human engineers saw them as breakthrough discoveries. If we can tear holes in space by accident, Sarah had told her team back then, we can learn to do it on purpose. They had been right. Hidden research facilities throughout human space had spent decades learning to control the strange energy that could bend space and time. The same energy that had created the dangerous storms near Earth could also create doorways to anywhere in the galaxy. Gateway teams report ready, announced a technician. We have stable connection points established in the rim territories. The Rim Territories. Most species considered them worthless space at the edge of the galaxy. Strange physics made normal, faster-than-light travel impossible there. Wild energy storms made communication difficult. No planets suitable for normal life existed in those chaotic regions, perfect for humans who had learned not to be normal. Begin Phase 1, Sarah ordered. Across human space, the first gateways opened. They didn't look like much, just shimmering circles of silver light floating in space near each human world. But through those circles, ships could travel instantly to the galactic rim, hundreds of thousands of light years away. The first colony ships began moving through. Each one carried 10,000 people, and everything they needed to start new lives in impossible places. They had food, water, air recyclers, manufacturing equipment, and most importantly, the knowledge to build more gateways. On Earth, families gathered at spaceports for the last time. Children who had never known another world said goodbye to the only home humanity had ever known. Adults carried small bags of personal items, photos, books, small treasures that connected them to their history. "Are you scared?" a young girl asked her mother as they boarded a transport ship. Her mother looked out the window at Earth growing smaller below them. "No, sweetheart. Humans have always been explorers. We're just going to explore places no one has ever seen before." The girl smiled. "Will we ever come back?" "Someday, maybe. But by then, we'll be different people living in a different galaxy." The evacuation moved faster than anyone had expected, even the humans. Entire colonies packed up and left within days. Space stations were stripped of everything useful, then abandoned. Mining operations shut down and moved their equipment through the gateways. The Council's monitoring ships watched in amazement as humanity didn't just accept exile, they embraced it. Every human seemed eager to leave, as if they had been waiting for permission to go somewhere else. "Why are they taking everything?" wondered Captain Velkt, commanding one of the Council observation vessels. "If they're being quarantined, they should stay on their worlds and wait." His science officer, a young Cathari named Sithrul, studied the sensor readings. "Captain, I don't think they're planning to stay quarantined. Look at these energy patterns." Velkt examined the data. The readings showed massive power surges unlike anything in Council records. "What are they doing?" I think they're leaving. Not just their planets. They're leaving this entire region of space." The captain stared at the screen showing Earth. Once a blue-green world full of cities and billions of people, it was now brown and empty. The humans had taken everything. Technology, artwork, even soil from their gardens. They were treating their homeworld like a house they were moving out of forever. "Contact the Council immediately," Velkt ordered. "Tell them the humans aren't staying put. They're going somewhere." But before the message could be sent, something incredible happened. A gateway, larger than any seen before, opened near Earth itself. Through it came a massive ship, unlike anything in Council databases. It was clearly human-built, but it seemed to exist in several dimensions at once, its edges blurry and constantly shifting. The ship broadcast a simple message to all nearby vessels. "Goodbye, galactic community. Thank you for helping us realize we needed to find our own path. Don't worry about us. We'll be fine." Then the ship passed through the gateway, and the shimmering portal collapsed behind it. Within hours, similar gateways opened throughout human space. Not to let ships through, but to take the gateways themselves. Humans loaded their dimensional technology onto transport ships and carried it away, leaving no trace of how it worked. When the last gateway closed, human space was empty. Not just of people, but of everything that made it human. Empty planets, dead space stations, abandoned mining sites. It was as if humanity had never existed there at all. The Council fleets found themselves guarding empty space. "Where did they go?" Velkt asked his science officer. Sithrul checked long-range sensors, scanning in every direction. "Unknown, Captain. They just disappeared." Deep in the Rim Territories, where space itself behaved strangely and time moved in unexpected ways, the first human colony ships emerged from their gateways. The colonists looked out at regions of space no council species had ever explored, areas filled with impossible physics, dangerous beauty, and unlimited possibilities. "Welcome to the real universe," Sarah Kim announced, to the 17 billion humans now scattered across the galactic rim. "Now let's see what we can build here." Commander Elena Vasquez floated in the observation deck of New Geneva Station, watching space do impossible things outside the transparent walls. Here in the rim territories, gravity came and went like ocean tides. Time moved fast in some places, and slow in others. Matter sometimes forgot how to stay solid. To most species in the galaxy, this would be nightmare space, chaotic, dangerous, impossible to live in. But Elena had been born here 50 years ago. To her, normal space seemed boring and limited. Status report from Sector 7. Called Lieutenant Torres from his control station. Like Elena, he was second-generation rim-born, his body slightly adapted to the strange physics of their new home. "The gravity storms cleared up this morning," Torres continued. "The mining teams can return to the asteroid field. They're reporting some interesting finds. Matter that exists in 11 dimensions simultaneously." Elena nodded. "Send it to the research labs. Dr. Yuen's team has been wanting to experiment with multidimensional materials." She turned to look at the massive structure growing outside the station. New Geneva was already huge, bigger than any space station the Council had ever built. But it was still expanding. Teams of workers in specially designed suits moved through zones where up and down changed direction every few minutes, adding new sections that could only exist in twisted space-time. 200 years had passed since humanity's exile from Council space. The Council probably assumed humans were struggling to survive in the harsh rim territories. Maybe even dying out. They were wrong on every level. Humanity hadn't just survived, they had evolved. "Ma'am," called Specialist Chen from the communications station. "We're getting a report from the Wanderer expedition. They've found something interesting near the Flux Nebula." Elena pushed off from the observation wall and floated over to Chen's station. The Wanderer was one of humanity's deep exploration ships, designed to travel through regions where normal physics broke down completely. "What did they find?" Elena asked. Chen pulled up a holographic display showing readings that would have been meaningless to any Council scientist. "A stable pocket of accelerated time. Captain Rodriguez thinks we could set up a research facility there. A year inside would equal a century outside." Elena smiled. Time manipulation had become one of humanity's greatest advantages. While the Council spent decades debating new technologies, humans could develop and test innovations in fast time bubbles, where centuries of work could be completed in months. "Approved," Elena said. "Have the construction team start building a time-locked research station." She floated back to the main observation area and activated her personal communicator. "Computer, connect me to Admiral Park at Deep Base." The hologram of a stern-faced woman appeared in front of Elena. Admiral Park commanded humanity's largest military installation, built inside a folded space region where the base existed in multiple dimensions at once. "Commander Vasquez," Park said in greeting. "How's the expansion going?" "Ahead of schedule," Elena replied. "We should have the new residential sections completed within 6 months." "How are your new recruits adapting?" Park smiled. "Better than expected. Kids who grew up here think gravity fields and time distortions are normal. They're developing abilities that would seem impossible to baseline humans." This was happening throughout human space. Children born in the rim territories were adapting to their strange environment in ways that amazed even their parents. Some could sense gravity changes before they happened. Others could navigate through twisted space-time by instinct. A few seemed to exist slightly out of phase with normal time, making them incredibly fast in emergencies. "Any word from the long-range scouts?" Elena asked. "Team Gamma found another stellar nursery last week," Park said. "They're building a habitat right in the heart of it. The energy output is incredible. Enough to power a dozen stations like yours." Elena nodded. This was how humanity lived now, not on planets, but in the spaces between them. They built homes in asteroid fields, inside gas clouds, near black holes, and in regions where new stars were being born. Why terraform a dead world when you could live anywhere? There's something else. Park continued, her expression growing serious. Our deep sensors are picking up unusual activity from Council space. Increased military movements, emergency communications, signs of major problems. Should we investigate? Elena asked. Park shook her head. Not our concern. They made it clear we're not welcome. Let them handle their own problems. Elena understood. Humanity had learned to stop caring what the Council thought about them. For 2 centuries, they had built their own civilization based on adaptation, innovation, and exploration. They owed nothing to the species that had exiled them. After ending the call, Elena went back to watching the workers outside. A new section of the station was taking shape, one that could only exist in rim space physics. Its walls were made of crystallized gravity. Its power came from controlled time streams, and its atmosphere was held in place by manipulated quantum fields. Commander, Torres called out. We're getting a transmission from the newest colony ship. They've reached the Dark Nebula region. Elena activated the main display. The image showed a massive cloud of dark energy that existed outside normal space-time. To Council species, it would be deadly. To humans who had learned to work with impossible physics, it was a new frontier. Captain Williams appeared on screen, her face excited despite the dangers of her mission. Commander Vasquez. You need to see this. We found something incredible. The image shifted to show the external view from Williams's ship. Inside the Dark Nebula, structures were forming. Not built by any intelligence, but created by the nebula itself. They looked like cities made of pure energy, constantly shifting and growing. We think the nebula is some kind of natural phenomenon that creates space for life to exist, Williams explained. Not normal life. Something that exists as pure information and energy. We're studying ways to communicate with it. Elena shook her head in amazement. This was the difference between humans and the Council species. When faced with something impossible, the Council would declare it too dangerous and stay away. Humans would try to understand it, communicate with it, and learn from it. Proceed with caution, Elena told Williams. But proceed. If you can establish contact, it could change everything we know about life in the universe. As the transmission ended, Elena realized something important. The Council had exiled humanity, thinking it would humble them and force them to mature according to alien standards. Instead, they had freed humanity to become something entirely new. Council species built their civilization around avoiding danger and maintaining stability. They stayed in safe regions of space, used proven technologies, and followed rules that had worked for thousands of years. Humans built their civilization around embracing the unknown. They lived in dangerous spaces, developed impossible technologies, and wrote new rules as they went along. Ma'am, Chen called out again. Long-range sensors are detecting some kind of disturbance at the edge of our space. Something's coming from Council territory. Elena frowned. What kind of something? Unknown. The readings don't match any Council ship designs. It's moving fast and changing direction in ways that shouldn't be possible. Elena's training kicked in. After 2 centuries, something from Council space was approaching human territory. Either they had developed new technology, or something else was involved. Send a message to all stations and colonies, she ordered. Unknown contact approaching from Council space. All defensive systems on alert. But don't attack. Unless attacked first. Let's see what our old neighbors want after all this time. Deep in her mind, Elena wondered if the Council was finally ready to learn what humanity had become in their exile, or if they were coming to cause more problems. Either way, they would find that the humans they had exiled no longer existed. In their place was something new, something adapted to impossible conditions and unlimited possibilities. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you gave humans freedom to grow beyond all limits. Ambassador Veltar's old body creaked as he moved through the corridors of the Galactic Coordination Council headquarters. At 400 years old, he had seen the galaxy change many times, but never like this. The economic reports are getting worse, his aide, a young Cathari named Printal, said as she walked beside him. Trade volume is down 30% from last year. Exploration has almost completely stopped. The Zephyrians are hoarding antimatter fuel again. Veltar stopped at a large window looking out at space. Where once hundreds of ships had moved back and forth between the stars, now only a few dozen traveled the major trade routes. The galaxy was getting smaller, quieter, more afraid. "How long has it been since we exiled the humans?" he asked. 287 years, Ambassador. "And how long since we've had a major technological breakthrough?" "A new trade route discovered? A successful first contact with a new species?" Printal checked her datapad. The last major innovation was the hegemony's improved life support systems, 112 years ago. The last new trade route was discovered by the Korvan Collective, 143 years ago. And the last successful first contact was... She paused, realizing the answer. "The last successful first contact was with humanity, sir. 287 years ago." Veltar clicked his legs nervously against the floor. This was the problem the Council refused to acknowledge. For all their talk about humans being too dangerous and unpredictable, they had been the galaxy's driving force for change and growth. Humans had been the species willing to try new things, explore dangerous regions, trade with anyone, and adapt to any situation. They had connected different parts of the galaxy that had never talked to each other before. They had solved problems that other species thought impossible. Now they were gone, and the galaxy was slowly dying. "Sir," Printal said carefully, "there's something else. The defense reports." Veltar turned to look at his aide. "What about them?" "We've been detecting strange phenomena at the edge of the galaxy for the past 50 years. Energy signatures that don't match any known technology. Space distortions that appear and disappear without explanation. And now..." She pulled up a holographic display showing the galactic rim. Red warning symbols marked dozens of locations. "Now we're detecting organized activity. Structures being built. Ships moving in formation. Intelligence suggests there's a major civilization out there." Veltar studied the display. "Could it be the humans?" "Impossible, sir. The rim territories can't support life as we know it. The physics there are too unstable. Any civilization would need technology far beyond what humans possessed when they left." But Veltar wasn't so sure. He remembered Ambassador Chen's strange smile when she accepted exile. He remembered how quickly and efficiently humanity had evacuated their entire civilization. They had been planning something. "Sir." Another aide, this one from the hegemony, came running down the corridor. "Emergency meeting. Something's happened to Patrol Fleet Omega." In the emergency council session, Admiral Kexthan of the Council Defense Force stood before the assembled representatives. His usually calm demeanor was shaken. At 0800 Galactic Standard Time, Patrol Fleet Omega was conducting routine surveillance near the galactic rim, he reported. They encountered an unidentified vessel. The holographic display showed sensor readings that made no sense. The ship appeared to be moving through several dimensions at once, its size and shape constantly shifting. The vessel made contact. Admiral Kex then continued. The captain identified himself as Rodriguez of the TCS Defiance. He claimed to be human. Surprised gasps filled the chamber. Several delegates began talking at once, before Veltar called for order. "What did this Rodriguez want?" Veltar asked. "He delivered a message," the admiral said. "I'll play the recording." A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a human man, but something was different about him. He seemed to exist slightly outside normal space-time, his edges blurry, his movements not quite matching standard physics. "Greetings, Galactic Council," Captain Rodriguez said. "Humanity remembers your decision to exile us nearly 3 centuries ago. We want you to know that we're grateful." The council members looked at each other in confusion. Rodriguez continued. "Your exile gave us the freedom to grow beyond the limits of your galaxy. We've learned to live in regions you consider impossible. We've developed technologies you can't imagine. We've become something new." He smiled, and for a moment, multiple versions of him seemed to exist simultaneously. "We're sending this message as a courtesy. Stay out of rim space. The physics there are dangerous for species still bound by conventional reality. We wouldn't want any accidents. Quote, the hologram flickered and vanished. Where is the ship now? Veltar asked. Admiral Kex then looked embarrassed. Gone, sir. It simply ceased to exist in our dimensional framework. Our ships couldn't track it. The council erupted in worried discussion. If humans had developed technology that advanced, what did it mean for galactic security? Were they planning revenge? Were they preparing to return as conquerors? But Veltar had a different worry. He was thinking about the problems facing the galaxy. The economic slowdown, the lack of innovation, the growing fear and isolation between species. Admiral, he said, what's the current status of our defense against external threats? Kexthan's expression grew grim. Sir, we've been detecting unusual phenomena beyond the galactic edge. Signals that suggest hostile intelligence. Energy patterns that could be weapons. Our current technology is insufficient to investigate or defend against threats of that magnitude. How insufficient? Sir, if something attacked us from outside the galaxy, using technology we don't understand, we would have very few options. The chamber fell silent. For thousands of years, the council had maintained peace by staying within their safe zone. Following proven rules, avoiding dangerous experiments, it had worked well when the galaxy was isolated and predictable. But the universe was bigger and stranger than their safe zone. And now something was stirring in the dark spaces between galaxies. 3 weeks later, the first reports came in. Ships on the galactic edge were disappearing. Entire star systems were going dark. Energy storms that ate matter itself were spreading inward from the void. The Council's most advanced weapons couldn't even detect what was causing the attacks, let alone stop them. We need help, Veltar told the emergency council session. Our technology isn't advanced enough to handle this threat. Help from whom? Asked the hegemony delegate. We're the most advanced species in the galaxy. No, Veltar said quietly. We were the most advanced species in our small part of space. But there's a species that learned to live in impossible regions, develop impossible technologies, and adapt to any threat. Understanding dawned on the faces around the chamber. The humans, whispered Printel. Veltar nodded. We need to contact humanity. We need to ask for their help. But we exiled them, protested another delegate. They probably hate us. Maybe, Veltar agreed. But they're still the species most likely to have a solution to an impossible problem. And right now, we're facing the most impossible problem in galactic history. As alarms began sounding throughout Council space, reporting more attacks from beyond the galaxy's edge, Veltar made a decision that would have seemed unthinkable just days before. It was time to find the humans and learn what they had become in their exile. Before it was too late for everyone, the Council delegation's ship shook violently as it entered rim space. Ambassador Veltar held onto his seat as gravity shifted directions 3 times in 10 seconds. Around him, the other delegates looked sick and frightened. Are you sure this is safe? Asked the hegemony representative, her silver form flickering with stress patterns. Nothing about this is safe, Veltar replied. But we don't have a choice. Behind them, galactic civilization was collapsing. The entities from dark space had destroyed 40 star systems in the past month. They consumed matter, energy, and even information itself, leaving behind voids where reality simply stopped existing. The Council's most powerful weapons passed through the attackers without effect. Contact established, announced the ship's communication officer. We're being scanned by something. The readings don't make sense. On the main screen, space twisted and a ship appeared. If it could be called a ship, the vessel seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once, its form shifting between possible configurations. It was clearly built by intelligence, but not any intelligence the Council understood. Unknown vessel, came a voice over the communications system. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the TCS Meridian. State your business in human space. Veltar stepped forward. This is Ambassador Veltar of the Galactic Coordination Council. We request permission to speak with your leadership about an urgent threat to all life in the galaxy. There was a long pause. Then, please stand by. We're preparing a diplomatic suite for your physiology. Be warned. You are about to experience realities your species consider impossible. The council ship was pulled into what looked like a space station, but one that existed in folded space. The delegates found themselves in a receiving chamber that was somehow bigger inside than outside, with walls that showed views of star systems that couldn't exist in the same location. A figure materialized in front of them, human in basic form, but clearly evolved beyond baseline humanity. She appeared to exist slightly out of phase with normal time, her edges shimmering with quantum uncertainty. I am Director Chen 9, she said. Sarah Chen's descendant in the 9th iteration. I speak for the human collective. In this dimensional framework, Veltar struggled to understand what that meant. 9th iteration? We exist across multiple timelines simultaneously, Chen 9 explained patiently. Each iteration represents a different path of human development. We are individuals and a collective species at the same time. Your linear thinking makes this concept difficult to grasp. The hegemony delegate floated forward. We need your help. Something is attacking our galaxy from outside. Our weapons can't touch it. Chen 9 nodded. We are aware. The entropy swarm. From the void between galaxies. They consume organized information. To prevent the universe from becoming too complex, they see galactic civilization as a disease to be cured. Can you stop them? Veltar asked desperately. We already have, Chen 9 replied simply. The delegates stared at her in confusion. Through the chamber's impossible windows, they could still see the energy storms ravaging the galaxy's edge. What you see is the aftermath, Chen 9 explained. The actual battle was fought across 17 dimensions and 4 temporal frameworks. The swarm has been contained and redirected. Your galaxy is safe. But how is that possible? The Cathari delegate asked. They destroyed our most advanced fleets. Your most advanced technology operates within conventional physics, Chen 9 said. The swarm exists beyond such limitations. Fighting them required beings who also exist beyond conventional physics. She gestured. And the chamber walls showed images of the battle. Council delegates watched in amazement as human ships that seemed to be made of pure mathematics fought creatures of living darkness in spaces where up and down had no meaning. We learned to fight them because we learned to live like them, Chen 9 continued. In rim space, we adapted to impossible conditions until the impossible became normal. We think in dimensions your species cannot perceive. We exist in states of reality you consider fantasy. Veltar slowly understood what had happened. The exile. It didn't punish you. It freed you. Chen 9 smiled, and for a moment, all 9 iterations of her timeline became visible simultaneously. The Council tried to contain humanity within the limits of what you considered possible. When you removed those limits, we discovered that the universe is far stranger and more wonderful than any of us imagined. But now what? Asked the hegemony delegate. Will you return to the galaxy? Will you rule over us? Rule? Chen 9 seemed genuinely confused by the concept. Why would we want to limit ourselves to ruling one small region of normal space? She gestured again, and the chamber walls showed the full scope of human civilization. It stretched beyond the galactic rim into regions where physics worked differently, where time flowed in multiple directions, where life existed as pure information in quantum foam. We have built homes in the hearts of stars, cities in folded space-time, and communities in dimensions that exist only in mathematical probability, Chen 9 said. We have learned to communicate with beings of pure energy, to travel through time as easily as space, and to exist as both matter and idea simultaneously. Then what happens to us? Veltar asked. The galaxy needs guidance. Our civilization is stagnant. We've forgotten how to grow. Chen 9 was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice carried the weight of centuries of consideration. The galaxy is welcome to join us, she said finally. Not to be ruled by us, but to learn from us. To discover what lies beyond the safe boundaries you've built around yourselves. How? The Cathari delegate asked. Some of your species will be ready now, Chen 9 explained. The ones who dream of exploring dangerous places and trying impossible things, we can teach them to exist in rim space, to think beyond conventional physics, to adapt to constant change. She looked directly at Veltar. Others will need time. Your galaxy has spent so long avoiding risk that many species have forgotten how to embrace the unknown. But those who are willing to learn can begin the process of evolution. And those who aren't? Veltar asked. They can remain in normal space, following the old rules, maintaining the old boundaries. We won't force change on anyone, but the universe is vast, and those who limit themselves to one small part of it will miss most of what existence has to offer. The chamber fell silent as the council delegates absorbed this offer. Humanity wasn't offering to return to their old place in galactic society. They were offering to lead willing species into realms of possibility that hadn't existed before humans learned to make them real. We need time to consider, Veltar said finally. Of course, Chen 9 replied. Time is something we have plenty of. Take as long as you need. When you're ready, send a signal to rim space. We'll be here. As the council ship prepared to leave, Chen 9 offered one final thought. Your species once told us we were too dangerous and unpredictable to remain in civilized space. You were right. But you were also wrong about what that meant. The dangerous and unpredictable can be forces of destruction, or forces of evolution. One says tense, one. She smiled, existing in multiple timelines simultaneously. The universe chose evolution. Months later, the first volunteers from various species began arriving at the Rim territories. Young Cathari who dreamed of impossible journeys, hegemony scientists who wanted to study physics beyond conventional reality, even a few elderly council members who decided they were too old to be afraid of change. They came to learn from the species they had once exiled, to discover what lay beyond the boundaries of safe space, and to evolve into something new. Some species chose to remain in normal space, maintaining their traditional ways. Others sent small groups to explore rim space and report back. A few, inspired by humanity's example, began developing their own impossible technologies. The galaxy was changing, growing, becoming something larger than it had ever been before, and at the edge of everything known, humanity continued its eternal journey into realms of possibility that had no limits except imagination. They had been exiled for being too dangerous to civilized space. Now, they were the guides, showing civilization how to become dangerous enough to thrive in an infinite universe. The Council had tried to quarantine humanity's influence. Instead, they had given humanity the freedom to influence everything.